Hello and welcome to episode number 6 of the Pin Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about being fat. Woo! But before we begin with today's podcast, if you don't know, or it's your first time listening, the Pin Podcast is a podcast about modern day living with a vintage flair. And today, before we start, I wanted to say thank you to everyone that has been listening to all the podcasts. I really appreciate all the amazing feedback that I've received and the texts that I've gotten from you guys. If you guys don't know, you could send any questions, topic ideas, guest ideas to 1-833-4A-PinUp. Again, the number is 1-833-4A-PinUp. Very catchy. Wouldn't you say?
It is. Easy to remember.
Yes. And if you have, I want to start a new segment starting next week about giving shout outs. So feel free to text me if you want to give a shout out to your friend or your fellow pinup girl. If you want to shout out your car or you just want to shout out anything. I'm going to do shout outs at the end of every podcast. So if you wanted to say, hey, I have a new artwork I've been working on, check me out on Instagram, I'll shout you out. So make sure to text me at 1-833-4A-PinUp. And today we have a veteran of the Pin Podcast. We have Vivian with us. She was my guest in episode number 2.
Woo-hoo.
And if you don't know who she is, she's an amazing, talented, one of the brightest artists here in South Florida. Oh. And her Instagram, Twitter, all her handles is at Arteluna Miami.
That's right.
Yeah, and she has a website at delunamiami.com. And she'll be joining us today for our little chat about being fat.
Thank you for having me back.
You are so welcome. And for this subject, of course, it is a very sensitive subject. You know, some people don't like talking about the way that they look or they feel insecure. I mean, I know that I'm talking about this subject and I'm going to open up, and it's still, you know, I still have to go through it every day because I see myself in the mirror. And so we're just going to talk about it because I'm pretty sure a lot of us feel the same way, but we never have an outlet where to chat and see, you know, just talk it out, air it out, and just to make sure to let everyone listening know that you're not alone, basically, because there's times I've felt alone in situations, feeling inadequate in the way that I look, or look at that, I'm talking about the way that I look and I keep touching myself. Hi. So Vivian, what do you consider fat? Like when you hear the word fat on the street, what do you think of? Like,
oh, fat is like the other F word. Like...
It's a bad word.
It's a bad word. Yeah,
it.
Exactly.
Do you get women that tell you? I get women all the time that are even close to me today that tell me, Jennifer, don't call yourself fat. You're not fat. Like, it's not a bad thing.
Well, that's how I see it too. Like, I've been overweight my entire life. So I guess I've come to terms with it. And I don't see it as a bad thing. It's just part of who I am. You know, I am plus size. I am fat. You know, it's me. I don't see it as something bad. But I guess it depends on, you know, in the media, we're constantly being told fat is bad. Fat means different things to different people. You know, so I guess it depends.
Yeah, there's a lot of fat stigmas. Like, for example, have you ever felt like you had to prove your fatness, your worth, because people were judging you because you're fat? I could give you an example. I used to live in an apartment complex, right? And I would be scared of when a friend or a roommate of mine, I was at college at the time, she'll be like, oh, do you want to take the elevator or the stairs? So I automatically say stairs because I don't want to make it sound like I'm the lazy fat girl that doesn't want to go up the elevator.
Exactly.
But that's subconscious because I'm pretty sure that other girl is not thinking that. But at that time I was, because I was very self-conscious about the way that I looked. Because like yourself, I've always been a bigger girl than all my surroundings.
I think we do it to ourselves. Like, it just becomes part of, like, your subconscious. So you, like you said, the other person might not even be thinking it, and that might not even cross their mind at that moment, but you're thinking it, and you don't want to be lazy or whatever. Like, I live in an apartment complex, and my neighbor is notorious for parking incorrectly. He loves to park over the line. And I have an SUV. He has this huge truck, which are probably not the right kind of cars to have in an apartment complex parking lot. But every day, I have a hard time getting in and out of my car. And I always think, is it because I'm bigger? And then I look at the lines and I'm like, no, it's because he left like 3 inches between the cars. You know, it has nothing to do with my size. But it's true. It's like ingrained in us.
Yeah, and you equal, like, I'm not saying at all means, and I'm being real here, that fat is not a good thing. Like, being fat is, I'm not glorifying being fat either, because, you know, there is some health to it, but again, it doesn't define that you're healthy or not, if that makes sense. Because I think with the word fat, people think fat equals no self-control, because you're fat because you can't stop eating.
Right.
And you're lower in the chain of humanity because you can't control yourself and you're worthless.
Yeah, you hear sometimes people complain like that even their doctors don't really pay attention to, you know, their ailments and stuff because they associate it with just because they're fat. Well, I'm probably like the healthiest fat person you'll meet because I don't have, you know, high cholesterol and I don't have diabetes. You know, I don't have any health issues really. But I've always been overweight. So, you know, I've tried every diet in the book. You know, I joined the gym. I used to work out with friends, and I just have always had a really hard time losing weight. And now, like, even though I'm still always on a diet, you know me, and you know that I'm always on a diet. But still, I've come to accept it, and I don't stress out about it as much anymore, like I used to when I was younger.
Yeah. Do you sometimes I used to feel this way, and I don't get it misunderstood because I like to dress up, but don't you ever feel like you have to have a standard in how you look? Because I used to compensate how I dressed with being fat. Okay, let me explain myself here. So, because I'm fat, people assume you're lazy. So if I don't dress up and look nice, people will automatically assume I'm just a fat, lazy girl. So I always tried really hard to just do my hair, not look, like
to make up for that.
Because when you say fat, you think sty, like pig sty, and you looking like like you just run over. You were in a pig sty, and I don't know. Have you ever gone through that?
Maybe, yeah. I've always loved fashion, and I've always been very into like dressing up, and not necessarily super girly, but at the same time very girly. But yeah, I totally understand what you mean. Because I have felt like that. Like if I don't dress up and then I look like I'm sloppy or like I'm lazy and I didn't try. But I just love dressing up. I do it, you know, because I like it. And I like to, you know, keep up with like, I'm kind of quirky and, you know, eccentric sometimes in how I dress and style myself. But I do it because I enjoy that. Not so much, you know, to make up for being a plus size girl.
I hear it. I hear you. And so when did you realize, or I'm pretty sure we all still struggle with the way that I'm speaking for myself, the way that we feel, I still struggle with it sometimes, but much better now than when I did a couple years ago. I went through a rough time accepting that the way I look is the way that I look. Not accepting it, but that other people had a hard time accepting it. I think that's the issue. Like, I finally accepted myself for who I am. I've always been overweight, but it's society that's always making me second guess my choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you ever have like an awakening?
Well, we see it everywhere. Like every commercial is like this skinny, you know, gorgeous woman, or you see it on TV shows. Most of the actresses are thin, or you hear actresses that are plus size how they struggle to find roles in Hollywood and things like that. I think you get it from everywhere, you know. Growing up in a Latin household, I got it from my family too, because it was like, you know, you can't eat too much because then you're gonna gain weight. But then if you don't eat enough,
it's disrespectful,
right? It's like, well, you're not gonna finish the plate, you know? And it's like, wait, you just told me I shouldn't eat too much. So I think we get it from everywhere.
Well, talking about family, do you think that our weight has to do with, a lot of people blame parents? Like if you see a fat kid in school, they'll be like, oh my god, the parents have no discipline, they let the kids eat whatever they want. Do you feel that way?
No, not at all.
Because you were a teacher.
I was a teacher.
I recently found this out.
Long time ago. No, because growing up, my mom's always been very thin, and she was always very health conscious. So when we were little, like what we had at home was skim milk, fat-free food. My mom used to, cook pretty healthily. Cuban. I'm Cuban, and we don't eat a lot of
rice.
vegetables and things like that. But other than that, it wasn't that bad. My mom didn't let us eat a lot of junk food and things like that. And my sister growing up was very thin, so I think it's more an issue of metabolism and
Hereditary.
well, not so much hereditary
No.
because my family.
Oh
is
yeah,
not...
you said they were skinny.
Yeah.
At least in my family, I mean, growing up, my parents were bigger, but then they lost weight when they got older. When I went to college, but I'm a twin, so for me, it was difficult because my sister is. We're fraternal twins. We don't look alike. Thank God. It'd probably be worse growing up. But we were always compared for everything. So I feel bad when I meet a twin because I know the struggles. If your parents are strict, they'll be like, oh, yeah, your sister got an A in this. How come you did this? Or your sister is doing this. How come you're doing that? Hey, you're getting fat. Your sister is this.
Yeah, my sister and I were always compared a lot. I mean, I'm not a twin. We're 4 years apart. But it was kind of the same thing.
I hated it because I've always been the chubby one. My sister has always been the athletic one. So we're totally different opposites. We grew up eating the same foods, so, and you see our bodies are just different. I mean, you've met my sister. So same household, even our attitudes. Like, I don't curse, but she curses. It's totally different. So I don't think I would.
Well, I had no idea you guys were twins until like recently.
Yeah, we look nothing alike. There's cousins that look more like if they're her sister than I am her sister. Hi. So, but I do see other women that I've talked to because the reason I started growing more into my blogging and more into going out is because I had a lot of women coming up to me telling me that I inspired them to be themselves because, having yellow hair, wearing the dresses that I do get attention, and I don't do it for attention, but the attention I do love is these women that have like the power of thinking, oh man, if she does it, I could do it too. And it really does humble me to know that I'm helping women, humble is not the word, I think, but I'm helping women get over that fear and hump and be themselves, wear that lipstick, wear that skirt, wear the flowers that you like in bright colors and dye your hair and, don't do it because people are looking.
Well, I'm the same way. Like, I'm not...
You're eccentric.
A little bit.
You have a moon on your head the other day.
I'll put anything on my head. Feathers. I think in my past life I was either a drag queen or a showgirl because I'll put anything on my head. But, I get it too. Like, I'm not a model. I don't have any interest in being kind of like, I do this for you kind of thing. But otherwise, no. But I have people stop me all the time and say, oh, that's such a pretty dress. I didn't know you can get dresses like that in that size. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, yes. It's another thing I get.
There's a whole world called the World Wide Web, or you can get
or
things
sewing.
in pretty much any size.
You could sew.
Right. I mean, I don't sew to that degree. I just do little craft things. But I've never really had a problem finding clothing.
Oh, I have.
I've been lucky, I guess.
Well, for me, the thing is, okay, this is getting personal. PinUp Miami personal time.
That's what we're here for.
For me, I know, okay, maybe by looking at me, you can't tell, but I can't fit in one store. So for my hip area, anything from my waist down, I would have to go to like the plus size section or to Torrid. And then anything on the top, if it's normal sizing, if it's vintage repro, everything is on the big side. But if it's like normal stores or thrift stores, the tops is like normal plus size, if you know what I mean. So I'm always in between, and I always have to mix and match, and I can't really find a dress. So this is why I started sewing, was because I love these types of dresses, but I can never find something that fits everywhere in my body perfectly.
Well, actually, I'm gonna go back on something that I just said. I did used to have a problem finding clothing. I don't so much anymore, but growing up, when I was like in high school, I was a plus size girl in high school. So for like prom and stuff like that back then in the 90s, amazing myself, but back in the 90s, it was harder to find plus size clothes that was more youthful and funky, which is my style. So my mom used to have someone sew my dresses for like proms or dances and stuff like that. But nowadays I don't really have a problem. I know before dresses were kind of cut on a very square kind of silhouette for plus sizes, and I'm not square. I have a waist. I have a big, have big hips. I have an ass. So that I guess I'm more curvy, even though I'm large.
And now twerking is in.
And now twerking is in. So I gotta use that ass. But now I find it easier, to find designers that'll design for my shape. We're not like a one size fits all.
Right.
Plus size girls come in all shapes and sizes as well.
Well, that's why when I see plus size models on TV or plus size like on magazines or even,
and they're usually not plus size.
They don't look plus size to me, and
Right.
they have their fat in all the right places. Like Ashley, what's her, the famous, the first Sports Illustrated plus size model, Ashley Graham. She's great. She's beautiful.
Gorgeous,
but I'm just saying she's not the norm body for plus size. So when people say plus size, they think, ooh, the boobs and then the thin, like smaller waist and then the big hips. When in reality, like you're saying, it's not a one size fits all. I think that's why Tess Holliday has been popular,
right.
because her body is not norm, and it's everywhere, but it's probably the norm in the plus size world,
And she's gotten so much backlash for, being a larger model. And she always talks about her struggles and booking gigs and stuff because of that, because she's, tattooed, and she is a plus size. She's like a size 22, I think she mentions sometimes. So it is harder for her to book gigs, even though she actually looks more like, me or someone my size.
She's alternative, big.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the thing. We need more representation of like the norm body, the norm plus size. And and then that goes into, talking about Tess Holliday, goes into dating, because her husband is thinner, and I've heard a lot of hate towards her husband because why can't he be with such a big girl? Have you ever had any issues dating with your size?
Well, I have issues dating, yes, period. But it has nothing to do with my size.
If you're from South Florida, I think every woman in South Florida has like stories about dating these Miami men.
I like to refer to myself as a man repellent. So yes, I do have issues dating, but it has nothing to do with my size. And I have friends who are plus size. My sister, who's like, she's younger than me, but she's like my role model. My sister never had an issue dating, ever. And she used to tell me it has nothing to do with your size. And she was absolutely right. It has nothing to do with my size. I think a lot of it has to do with South Florida. And the other part is just me. I don't know. I've never had a lot of luck in that area. But I don't think it has to do with, because I'm fat, then I can't find a boyfriend. No, I don't think it has to do with that. When I have dated, it has, when I do have a relationship, it doesn't really affect me in that way.
Well, when I was online dating, I either had, so I do dress a certain way, right? I have yellow hair, and I, even though I'm very bubbly, some people interpret it as a fetish. So I've either gotten like people having a fat fetish dating me, and I found out later on when some guy mentioned, we went on the second date, and he's like, I hope you never lose weight, because then this will never work. And I'm like, what? And he wanted me to get fatter, and it's like weird. So either, I don't lie in my pictures, but I'm sure if you just take selfies and then a guy sees you, I've heard women that only have selfies on their dating profiles, and then when they meet the guy's like, oh wait, I didn't know you were fat. And I've heard it happen, and I can't imagine that terrible feeling of showing up and then the guy bluntly telling you,
Yeah, no, I have a hate relationship with online dating apps. I just think it's not for me, but then I think, then what's the alternative? How do you meet people nowadays? So I do use the apps, and I've never lied on the apps. I always take current pictures. When I stopped dyeing my hair, and my hair is gray now, I wanted to make sure, like, even through the whole process, that people saw that my hair was gray, because I didn't want to show up to a date and then be like, wait a minute, you look like my grandmother, and in your pictures you had flaming red hair. So what happened? So I've always, put pictures that are current. They can see that I have a large ass. They can see that I'm a big girl. I don't see any point in lying about it, because then what's the point? They're attracted to something that you're not. So why do that?
I agree with you. When I was on these dating apps, I was very honest. I had pictures, maybe too honest because I put even funny pictures up there.
But that's part of your personality.
Yeah, I wanted to know fun, bubbly. I even put like me as a zombie because I love Halloween. Yeah, it was just weird. But online dating was online dating was not really my thing either. I didn't meet my boyfriend Tim online. I was lucky to actually meet him in person. I feel like now that's a rare thing to do. So I got lucky with him. But my ex I did meet online. And then a lot of dates in between that were online that were pretty interesting. That could be like a whole book that you guys could purchase as a comic book.
I feel like we should have another episode of the podcast solely on like online dating.
You know what? Yes, send me online dating stories. I would do a whole episode on online dating. So send me a story. Tell me your story. And I will air it out here. Even if you call the number, you could also call 1-833-48-PinUp and leave a voicemail. And I will play it on the air. Because I want to hear dating stories. So make sure to leave a voicemail or text online dating stories to 1-833-48-PinUp. That would be amazing. The juicier, the better.
That's going to be a fun episode. So stay tuned.
Now, talking back about, being fat. For me, I don't know. I was the whole day today. I've been trying to think, like, when was I comfortable? I mean, I'm not 100% comfortable with myself. I don't really do diets or different things, but I really think for me, I just felt comfortable when I realized that if I don't love myself, how can I expect somebody to love me? But I know when I talk to other girls that struggle or have a hard time, I'm always trying to figure out how I could get them to think the way I think. But it's always hard because, everyone's so different. I really want to shake them and be like, hey, just love yourself first, And then if you really want to change something, work on it, but don't discourage yourself. You tell me that you go on diets. Well, I know you go on diets, but you try not to let it discourage you. You just gotta keep trying. If one thing doesn't work, you keep going. Just like with this podcast, I started it and I've had mistakes already, but I learn from them and I move on. And that's what I try. I guess when I started realizing that that's how life works and that's how you improve yourself, you get to move forward and enjoy.
Absolutely. And that's a journey in and of itself.
Yeah.
The journey to self-love. And I think everybody goes through that, no matter your size. But confidence is a huge part. I feel that, I'm 43 years old. I think
you just age yourself.
I know, but why hide it? But that way you can tell me, oh, but you look young.
Oh, you look young. I'm so sorry.
But I really am 43. But I think it comes with age too. Like I've always felt, like a confident person, but the older I get, the more confident I feel. And I feel more confident in my own skin. And that translates to a lot of different areas. It translates to dating. It translates to a lot of, in the workplace as well. If somebody's not comfortable because I'm overweight, it's like, well, that's your problem. That's not my problem,
Or I get, even my own family in the beginning, they did not like my yellow staple hair. They call me a little chicken in Spanish. And not in a nice way. But it took me a while to be like, this is what I like. I was happy when I dyed it. It's gonna be 4.5 years I've had it yellow, and my family still gives me stuff for it. But it's like what you say. It's their problem if they don't like it. I'm wearing it. So
yeah, for me, like I went through. I never had yellow hair, and I had blue hair or purple hair because when I went through that, those colors weren't available. But I went through every shade of orange and red hair that you can possibly think of, like as funky as possible. I used to call it old Cuban lady red. That's what I went through. I went through all those shades, and my family had the same reaction. I come from a very conservative family, and it was like, are you really gonna have your hair like that? Are you gonna go to work like that? So, and now it's, I stopped dyeing my hair, but now it's, are you really gonna wear those feathers in your hair? Are you really gonna, you just go to the movies, are you really gonna wear that thing in your head? Yes, it doesn't, I wear it for myself. It doesn't bother me, so it shouldn't bother you.
I get that a lot from other girls. You don't have to dress up to go here. I'm like, This is what I got. This is what I'm wearing. I'm not wearing it for you. I'm wearing it because honestly, the stuff I wear is to make me feel confident. I know I don't need the makeup. I know I don't need the lipstick. I still will rock it, but it's also, I just, it makes me feel good. Just like your hair and your flowers and your feathers and your moon and your artwork. And how about in the workplace? Like, do you feel, I don't know, the only thing I could say in my workplace, you know, when I've worked in warehouses, people will assume that I could carry weight or boxes around just because I'm big. Taking up space-wise, not big like big. But it's not true. That's the only time I've ever felt like, bro, just because I'm fat doesn't mean I could carry a box. You never had any experiences at work?
No, not really. I guess I've been lucky in that sense. In my office, even though I'm always the one on a diet, whenever there's a party or like if you cut a cake for someone's birthday,
you're first.
No, I'm not first. I'm usually the one in charge of cutting the cake. And it's like, really, people, I'm on a diet. You know this about me. Why do I have to be the one to cut the cake? But I'm even in my family too. At family parties, I'm usually the one either serving the food or cutting the cake. Mm. I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that I'm overweight or if it's just because I'm kind of like motherly and, you know, like the house grandma. I don't know. And I like to help and feed people because I really do like feeding people. But I don't think it has really. My weight, I don't think has affected me in the workplace.
Have people ever like said something when you talk about weight and they automatically bring up the TV show like My 600-Pound Life? No.
No, but I can't watch that show because whenever I do, it's like going down the rabbit hole, and I always watch it and think, oh my God, is that gonna be me? Like, am I gonna keep gaining weight? Am I gonna be the 600-pound girl someday? Like, it messes with my head, so I try not to watch it.
See, I wouldn't have thought about that. I just get mad. I'm like, bro, like, why are you comparing me to that? Because, like, how you said you were, like, healthy, like, I could move around. Heck, Tim, my boyfriend, I'm outing him out. Let's see. If he tells me something, I know that he's listening to this podcast, right? But Tim, for example, we go to Disney World and he starts getting tired and I just keep going. I'm like on. I keep going. I'm like, yo, Tim, let's go. And I walk around. We could walk around the park 300 times at Epcot, around the world. And he'll be on the floor dying or want to eat something. I'm like, no, let's go. And I'm like, and I'm the fat one? Yeah, okay.
My travel partner is my friend Mohammed. He is notorious for walking. He will walk from here to the moon if someone lets him. And I keep up with him, you know, when we travel. I always tell him I can't run, but I can walk. So as long as we're walking, I can, you know, and I keep going. I do get tired, of course, because I'm human. But I keep going and I'll do whatever we need to do.
I even told Tim to get personal training, but because of the quarantine, he hasn't gone. So I'm the stronger one again.
And I have friends that are very athletic. One of my best friends, she's a plus size girl and she does CrossFit. She's amazing. She's one of like the strongest athletes at her gym. She's a plus size girl, so it doesn't matter. I think the size. You know, you could be healthy and still athletic and be larger. You know, it's just, I guess, your makeup. You know, your body.
It's the thing that we have to take the word fat and not equal it to no self-control and worthlessness. Because that's what we're getting in every conversation. When somebody says something about being fat, it's because they're the synonym. They probably look it up and it's a synonym. Fat equals worthless and no control or lazy. Or if you go to if you even mention, oh, I want to go to the buffet, they're gonna be like, of course, because you're the fat one.
Hey, skinny people like to eat too. There's nothing wrong with that.
I know, but the difference is if a skinny person were to say, hey, can I get that double Mac, whatever, a double burger cheese with whatever on top, it sounds different. You know, even to us, even to me, if I were to see a fat person say it and then a skinny person say it, you know, you already subconsciously know that shit, it's because she's fat. She wants that. And what do you think? I think it will change in society. I think things will get better. Or what do you think?
I think there's been a big push towards body positivity in the last few years. There's a lot of like Instagram models or personalities that have come up that really push the boundaries of body positivity. Like you mentioned Tess Holliday earlier. Denise Bidot is another model who's a plus size model, and she has a big push towards that. So I think, little by little,
But
the stigma goes changing.
The only thing I didn't like that tested ones, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm thinking of somebody else, is that, I love the body positivity, but I don't like. I think she did a photo shoot eating a burger. Like, I think that's just pushing it too much.
Well, she likes to like bait people sometimes. I think she does that a lot.
Because I know, like I said in the beginning, like I know I'm fat and I'm not promoting it, that it's like amazing, just eat whatever you want. You got to do it as healthiness. Like, she's eating healthy. I'm trying my best. I really don't eat that much. My boyfriend and my sister, that's smaller in height and has like a 6-pack and does CrossFit, eats so much more than me. So it's not about intake.
Right. Well, there's a lot of factors too. There hormonal issues. There's people that have issues with thyroid.
Oh yeah, PCOS.
Right, PCOS. So, you shouldn't judge someone just by looking at them and think like, oh, she's fat, she's lazy, she sits around eating bonbons all day. Because you don't know what that person does in their life. You don't know what health factors affect their weight.
You hit that right on the head. You can't judge anybody.
Yeah.
Before you judge somebody else, look at yourself. Just like our stories here, we self-love.
Absolutely.
Love yourself before you go out and say, oh, what does she think about wearing those pants? What if that's the only thing she had to wear that day? What if she doesn't have money to buy other clothes? So it's kind of like that mentality. Even, everyone's guilty sometimes of judging people, but you have to realize that we don't know what the other person's going through.
Nobody's perfect.
Correct.
But, it comes with being self-aware and just catching yourself and, opening your mind to... It's like looking at a skinny model and thinking, well, she needs a cheeseburger. You don't know what,
Yes,
if something affects her being thinner, or if that's just her choice to be thin,
There was this famous YouTuber that she was very skinny, and people bullied her for being so thin. And I'm sure she felt the same way that a big girl would feel online being bullied about her weight. But she's very famous. But she was so skinny, and like people would say, girl, you need to eat, you need to do this. But in reality, she was going through so much mental stuff, but she never posted anything about her mentality, her health, mental health, or what she's going through, because it's nobody's business. And she also went to find
online
help.
Is not the entire picture. It's only like a snapshot of what goes on in each person's life. So
yeah, and that's what I'm hoping with this podcast. Like, a lot of people just know me as in my pictures or my fun videos, but I really want to talk about subjects that I go through, you go through, my viewers go through. So I think today we went through a lot in the fat world.
And there's so much like the only time that I really feel 100% self-conscious is when I have to travel. And I love to travel, so I try to not let that stop me.
Why would you feel?
But whenever I have a trip coming up, I always get like anxiety about it, because first of all, I don't know if it's just me, if it's my face, if it's my body, if it's because I'm big or not, but every single time I go through security, I get patted down.
They want to touch that juicy behind.
So it already, I go through TSA and I'm already like, okay, do I look like a terrorist? What is it about me that?
Because you hiding them guns.
Like, where am I hiding the gun, really? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, airplanes are very tight. The seats are very tight. So if I'm traveling by myself, then I always wonder, like, is the person next to me going to be uncomfortable because, I'm bigger? So I try to get an aisle seat and kind of like lean over to not bother that person. And you're uncomfortable the whole time. You in a small cramped seat, you do get uncomfortable.
Yeah, because you went really far last time. Where did you go?
To Norway.
Norway. How long was that flight?
I think that flight was like 12 hours.
Whoa.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then you just gotta realize,
Now, surprisingly, I flew a Scandinavian Airlines. Scandinavian people, this is, I guess, a stereotype, but they're known for being tall and thin. That's just for the most part, not everybody, but for the most part. And those seats were actually a little bit more comfortable than, like American Airlines is the worst. They're so tight and cramped.
And those people are skinny.
Yeah.
Before we go, I have one story to tell that you just reminded me of.
Tell me.
Well, before I say my story, let me ask you a question, because now that you're talking about flights, do you think it is like I'm blanking out on the word. When people have to buy, people are so big that the company like American Airlines tells you have to buy 2 seats.
Right, or go fly first class or something.
Do you think that is like right or wrong?
That's difficult. I mean, I don't want to buy 2 tickets, to fly somewhere. Up to now, I've never had to do that, but
it gets you
someone
thinking.
Shouldn't be penalized, because they're larger. But I don't know.
The seats are small, even for skinny people.
But the seats are really small and cramped.
Yeah, that's something to think about. I haven't been in that situation, but it would be so embarrassing. But I have had.
The worst part is, for me, if the seatbelt doesn't fit.
That happens?
That has happened to me a couple of times, that the seatbelt doesn't go all the way. I haven't, even though I feel very confident in myself and everything, I haven't built up enough confidence to ask for a seatbelt extender, which you can do. The stewardesses will give you a seatbelt extender, and apparently it's no big deal. But I've always been embarrassed to do that. It doesn't happen every time. I guess it depends on the airplane.
But they check, so when they see that it's not on,
I always kind of like put it so it looks like, and it's not safe, because then if something happens, that my seatbelt's not on. But that's another thing that gives me a lot of anxiety.
Oh man, I can't imagine. Like, my heart would drop. In a story of the story of mine is when I first started dating Tim. Well, not first, like in the beginning, he wanted to go to Rapids Water Park. It's a big water park in South Florida. Well, it's up north ish. And I read reviews about this place, and the reviews would say, so sorry about that. The reviews were saying things like, bigger people would say, oh, they judged me because I was fat. They didn't let me ride the rides. There's a weight limit, but the way that they go around it is very embarrassing. And I was thinking, okay, what is the weight limit? So then I went to the Rapids Water Park thing, and it said, 250 pounds to ride most of the rides. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not 250 pounds, so I should be able to ride all the rides, no problem. And me thinking, I don't look fat. I strutted in there in my bikini, and the first ride Timmy wanted to ride, we got in these long stairs, waited a long time, and this is like an old water park, so it's all metallic everywhere. And then when we finally got to the top, it was like the couple in front of me.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, the couple in front. It was not a couple. It was a father and son, and it was like one of those rides for 2. Mm-hmm. So they went, and then the guy, this like bulk lifeguard looking guy, looks at me. Lets Timmy go first because he was carrying the raft, and had him set it up with the other guy. And then the other guy goes to me, ma'am, stand right here. And there was literally a scale, like one of those doctor scales.
Oh my God, I would die.
And I was nervous because I thought Timmy's looking at me. I didn't know. It was so embarrassing. And then the guys behind me were like buff, like The Rock. I'm pretty sure they weigh more than 250 pounds. I'm just saying. And then he weighs me, and I wasn't near 250 pounds. And it was just so embarrassing. And then I was like hoping, like, oh my gosh, I hope he didn't see me. Because again, this is when we first started dating, and I shouldn't care because I knew I wasn't that way. It was just like the way it was done, because it was literally
in front of people.
Yeah, and
that's terrible.
And it's not like a Disney World that everything's covered and all the lines. It's literally you're weighing there. Everyone's seeing him do the little doctor thing. And then I went on the ride. He said, you're fine. And then I was I don't know if it was because I was nervous. I got stuck in the ride. And I'm thinking, it's because I'm fat. So I kept pushing on the plastic to keep going. And we finally made it out. And then after that, I told Tim, I lied. And this is one of our relationship moments that I grew into being more open with him, because that day I was not open. But I cried my little eyes out without him seeing me, and I told him, you know what? After that ride, I'm not into it anymore. You ride the other ones by yourself. He's like, are you sure? I don't want to. And he stayed with me for a while, but then I said, bro, ride the ride. And then I went to a corner and I just started crying because it was so embarrassing, and I had to let it out. So then, any ride that had any of those warnings on there that said 250, I didn't even want to entertain the idea. I just said, "Ooh, that's too scary," like an idiot. But like a month later, I opened up to Tim and I told him exactly what happened because he needs to know that happened.
Right.
Because I don't want him to think I was a scary cat. Because I was not
And
a scary cat.
like, what was his reaction? Because he probably had no idea.
He had no idea. He's like, "What? No, I thought it was because you were just scared." I mean, there was one ride that was scary, but he thought it was literally. I played it off really well. He didn't realize anything was really wrong. He didn't notice that I was crying again because I mean I was in the water, so I guess you can't really tell tears in water.
That's so sad.
Yeah. But yeah, they really make you feel bad. So believe those reviews at Rapids, or have them weigh you in the front. Like I don't know if somebody suspects that you're fat, have them weigh you like maybe
put like a wristband or something.
Yes, like
oh
maybe.
My God, that's terrible.
Okay, never mind.
If you have a purple wristband, you cannot go on the ride.
I'm sorry.
You're too fat. That's terrible.
Well, I don't know. I've been trying to think of like alternatives.
But at least you wouldn't be weighed in front of everybody.
Yes. Make it a cute little purple wristband or something. I don't know.
Well, I had it wasn't, I guess, that bad, but I felt as bad as I think you felt that day when I turned 40. My friends and I went to Universal Studios because I wanted to go to the Harry Potter area. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. And I dressed up as a Hogwarts student at 40 years old.
Do it.
You are never too
living
old.
Her best life.
Never too old to do these things. So we get to the park. Mind you, my friends who were a little bit younger than me did not dress up as Hogwarts students, but I did. And we get there, and I was so excited, and I'm there, with my Gryffindor tie and my uniform and the whole thing. And I had a Gryffindor hair flower and everything.
Woo.
And we're going through the park, and I was super excited, and, people would comment on my outfit and the whole deal. And we get to the Hogwarts ride, and I was so excited. I'm not a big ride person. Like, I don't like rides that are too fast.
But it's Harry Potter.
Or roller coasters or anything. But it's Harry Potter. And I had heard so much about the ride that it was done so well and so intricate and everything.
It's the one in the castle?
The one in the castle.
Okay.
So there was 1 million people, because I think it was like a long weekend when we went. And it was really crowded. And I did see outside the ride that they have like a mock seat so that you can test the seat to make sure if you fit properly or whatever. But I looked at it and I was like, nah, I'm fine. I'm not going to have a problem. So we go in. We're in this long, long line for like an hour and a half. And as we're getting close to like being able to go on the ride, this very nice employee of Universal Studios is like, ma'am, can I speak to you for a second? Can you step over here?
At least he pushed you to the side.
Yeah, he was super nice.
Okay.
He pulled me out of the line. And I'm like looking back at my friends like, what's happening? What's happening? So he pulls me aside and he's like, did you by any chance test the seat that's outside to make sure you fit properly? Because it's one of those that has like the bars that go over you, I think. And I was like, no, I didn't test the seat. He's like, can you come with me and test the seat? I want to make sure that you're going to fit properly in the seat. And I was mortified. I wanted the ground to like just open up and swallow me alive.
And you were in line for an hour and a half.
After being in line for an hour and a half, yes. So he takes me. It was like a private area, so it wasn't in front of other people. And I didn't fit in the seat. And I was so disappointed, but I wanted to die. So I go back to my friends and I explain what happened. My friends were like, they were amazing. They're like, okay, we're not going to ride. If you can't go on the ride, we're not going on the ride. So we ended up leaving. But the rest of the day, I didn't want to go on any more rides. I didn't want to look at anything. I felt so bad because I just felt like, okay, I can't do something because I'm fat. That sucks, And then when I got back home and I talked to different people about it, I heard so many people who are not my size, who are maybe just taller. Like my brother-in-law's really tall, and he didn't fit in the seat because the seat is really small. So I think it's just like one of those things where they didn't design it properly, or maybe because of the type of ride is meant for like, I guess, kids or something smaller. But I was so mortified as well.
But it's interesting because that ride reminds me a lot of the Disney one called Soarin'. Because it's the one that's virtual, right? And you wear a 3D or you're like strapped in, but you're soaring through Hogwarts. But
right.
Then in the Disney one in Epcot, you're doing the same thing but over the country.
So I've never had an issue at Disney, actually, but I don't go on like Space Mountain or things that are really fast. That's just not my thing.
You're missing out.
Yeah, no, but that's not my thing. Thunder Mountain is like my peak. But I never had a problem at Disney. But at that time at Universal, I was
And
so
that ruins your
embarrassed.
day. Just like
It did. I was
you
so
don't want to do anything else
embarrassed.
anymore. I was just
Exactly.
trying to put up a front for Tim, and you were probably putting up a front for your friends because all you want to do is go home, get in the covers, and have some fun, some Cheetos or something, some cheese.
I thought you were going to say cheese, and I was so excited.
Cheese. Where this?
That's my favorite thing.
Oh, I think every time you come to the show, you cry.
I know, I'm a big crybaby.
But I hope that any of you could relate, and just because we've gone through issues, we have learned from them, and it doesn't make us worse people or worthless people or people that can't enjoy Harry Potter or a water park, because there's other things you can do as well. Do you have anything else to say on the subject?
Well, I think the number one thing is self-love, which we talked about.
Self-love.
If you don't love yourself, if you're not comfortable with yourself, how is anyone else going to be comfortable with you?
I'll still love you, though.
I still love you, too. And, not letting your size stop you from doing anything you want to do. If you want to take a dance class, take a dance class. Or, if you want to, I don't know, try and be a model. If that's, what you're interested in, why not? There's models comes in, in all shapes and sizes. Whatever it is that you want to pursue, you should do it, and you shouldn't let that stop you.
And if you do a dance class or any teaching class and the teacher makes you feel uncomfortable about your weight, because this has happened to me, there are other teachers.
Absolutely. I took belly dance classes for years, and I loved it. And then looking around, I was like, oh, all the best belly dancers are like a little jiggly.
We're actually going to have a belly dancer be a guest on the show.
Ooh,
very soon.
That's exciting.
Yes. I'm excited for that too. Hi, Vivian. It's been such a pleasure. I thank you so much again for joining me on the Pin Podcast. It truly appreciate it. And if you want to follow her and her adventures, make sure to follow her at Arte Luna Miami, and myself at PinUp Miami. And don't forget, send in, because next week I'll do shout outs at the end at 1-833-4-PINUP, or your dating stories, because I will make a whole podcast about online dating stories. Leave your voicemail, text us, make sure you subscribe. We're on iTunes, Spotify. Now we're on iHeartRadio.
How exciting.
So I'm there with Z100 and all these other radio stations. So you could find me there. And on YouTube, if you want to visually see what we look like here at the Pin Studios. I have a new setup today. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below if you're watching. And I hope you guys are staying safe, wearing your masks. And I don't know how many thank yous I could give you for listening in and staying all the way through. I appreciate it so much. And I love you guys.
And thank you, Jennifer, for doing this. Oh, you got it?
No.
Because it is a space that's a safe space for, us to talk about different topics, and it's a wonderful venue. So thank you for that.
Oh, you were so welcome. Bye-bye.